From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Mexican wolves have come back from the brink of extinction, but now scientists say they face a new threat.
Plus, the adoption incentives in Arizona to help find wild horses and burros a new home.
And the Senate passes a resolution to limit Trump's war powers on Iran. So what happens next?
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Jose Solis.
And I'm Tina Giuliano. Thank you for joining us.
The Arizona Game and Fish Department and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service have been working for the past 44 years to recover the Mexican wolf population that nearly went extinct.
But our reporter Dylan McKim learned that as the wolves started to come back, scientists are encountering a new problem.
There were only 7 Mexican wolves left in the wild in the 1970s. Now, in the latest wolf count, that population has swelled to at least 131 wolves. Now, although this is an amazing achievement, scientists are facing the problem that they only had 7 sets of genes to repopulate with, leaving the wild wolf gene pool far too similar. A team from the Arizona Game and Fish Department is heading out. They're looking for Mexican wolves.
Primary objective for this operation is to get a good count of the wolves that are out there.
But they have another goal in mind, too. Catching one.
Yeah, every animal we capture in the wild, whether it's a dog or a coyote or a wolf, we'll do a genetic analysis on it.
The team is successful today.
Excellent. Well, his heart rate's running around 90.
His name is MP-1858, a 10-month-old pup. And the blood sample taken from him today will go towards solving a problem facing the Mexican wolf population.
Our wild population right now is pretty inbred or pretty related.
The team is concerned with increasing the genetic diversity of the packs of Mexican gray wolves, which means they don't want 2 wolves whose genes are practically identical. According to the government's 2020 recovery plan for the Mexican wolf, 11 of the 26 known packs have a higher than normal chance of inbred pups.
So the way we're addressing genetic recovery of the wild population is through cross-fostering right now.
Cross-fostering is the process of taking a captive-born pup and placing them in the den of a wild pack. The process begins over 1,000 miles away at the Endangered Wolf Center in Missouri.
We know the genetics of every single individual in the captive population. And what we do is we make sure that the animals that are paired together not only are good genetic matches for each other, but help keep the overall population healthy.
It's a painstaking process that Masadi says has its limitations.
The stars, the moon, the planets, everything has to align to make it happen. And I say that because we have to have a wild mom that gives birth about the exact same time as a captive mom.
At least 9 of the 22 pups fostered into the wild have been found alive after 1 year, with 4 of them producing pups of their own, leading some to believe fostering doesn't go far enough.
It can only be done on a pretty limited basis.
Sandy Barr is with the Grand Canyon Sierra Club and is a part of a larger coalition of conservationists and scientists that are suing the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, believing there needs to be more done in the recovery program, including releasing adult wolves from captivity.
We think it needs to be augmented with the release of wolf packs, and particularly with an eye to the genetics of those wolves.
But according to the 2020 plan, there are no plans to release adult captive wolves this year, claiming captive adult releases are not as successful.
A lot of the behavior that we see from releasing an adult wolf, where it takes them maybe 4 or 5 months to get their feet on the ground.
For now, MP-1858 is released back into the wild. His blood sample is sent to the lab to be analyzed, helping biologists get closer to their goal of full genetic recovery.
But it'll be nice one day if we can get the genetics up to where they need to be able to kind of step back and let wolves be wolves.
Captive facilities had also been collecting semen samples for over 20 years in hopes that technology would one day allow them to use it. And just a few years ago, scientists at the Endangered Wolf Center had the first ever artificial insemination and were able to have a healthy Mexican wolf pup, allowing Masadi and her team to reintroduce genes that had once been lost. In the broadcast center, Dylan McKim, Cronkite News.
For continuing coverage on this developing story, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org. Wild horse and burro populations continue to rise across the West. Cronkite News reporter Madison Staten visited Marana, Arizona. Bureau of Land Management is working to solve this issue.
Since 1971, the Bureau of Land Management has gathered wild horses and burros for adoption. And recently, one of those adoptions took place in Marana that included horse training demonstrations by inmates from the Arizona Department of Corrections. I wanted to find out what the future holds for these animals. 22 miles outside of Tucson, there are horses and burros in need of a home. Some wild horses and burros find these homes at adoption events across the region.
We try to hit new spots every year so that people understand that we do have this program, and it really brings more attention to us. It helps us actually get these animals in good homes.
At any given time, Hall has between 450 and 1,000 animals in his care. For rancher Steve Temple, the adoption in Marana offered easy access to a much-needed burro.
It was excellent. You know, we came through, we looked around, we looked at all the animals. The staff helped us provide which ones were real docile, and we were looking for a docile animal to be a friend to a retired rope horse.
In Arizona, burros vastly outnumber wild horses. In 2019, the BLM reported more than 6,900 burros in Arizona. There are around 530 horses.
People should call this the horse program. It's not just horses. You know, we have a lot of burros in Arizona, we have a lot of burros in California. They create the same nuisance issues that we have with horses. They also do the same damage to the range that horses can do.
That damage includes destroying vegetation and overgrazing. Julie Murphy from ASU's School of Sustainability has dedicated her doctoral research to wild horses.
The BLM has been criticized from both angles, from the cattle growers to the horse advocates. One of the concerns I have with adopting the horses out is that the public is ready for this. It's difficult to follow up to see how they're doing once they're adopted.
I think the biggest issue I see is the wild horse and burro issue.
Penley acknowledges adoptions will not single-handedly solve the problem.
We have 88,000 wild horses and burros on our western federal lands. We've increased our adoption program to get people to adopt these wild animals. That's not going to solve the problem, and it's a tens of millions of dollars problem, but the more important thing for me is the existential threat to the quality of those lands.
Hall says most of the animals stay in his care no longer than 6 months. This is partly due to a new incentive program that started in 2019.
Once you've adopted, you receive a $500 payment from the government within 60 days of the adoption date, and then you'll receive another $500 for the government at time of title, which is typically around a year.
Hall says about 75% of the animals get adopted. That's up from past years. Wild horse trainer Brandon Grada is excited for the future of the animals he's trained.
You're sad to see them go, but you're happy because you know that they're being spoiled and someone's going to love them as much as you did.
The horses and burros not adopted at these events return to the training facility in Florence. Some will be adopted directly from Florence or at future events. Others will enter training programs. In the studio, Madison Staten, Cronkite News.
This morning, we learned Phoenix will host the 11th Democratic debate on March 15th, just 2 days before Arizona's primary election. The debate will be co-hosted by CNN and Univision. There's still no word on the venue or moderators. The next Democratic debate is slated for February 19th in Las Vegas.
We do expect the Phoenix-Arizona debate to include key issues such as sustainability, immigration, the role that our tribal communities play, and affordable housing.
President Trump will be in Phoenix next week to hold a Keep America Great Again rally. Meanwhile, the Senate passed an Iran War Powers Act yesterday to rein in Trump's ability to use military action against Iran without congressional approval.
The yeas are 55, the nays are 45. The joint resolution, as amended, is passed.
The measure goes to the House next for approval. President Trump does have the option of vetoing the resolution if it's passed by both houses of Congress. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has opposed the measure, and he does not think the Senate has the votes to override a veto. But even if that happens, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer argues it still sends an important message to the White House.
An Arizona Senate panel approved a measure that would make government entities that don't allow guns on their property liable if someone is shot on their premises. Republican Senator David Gowan's proposal was approved over Democratic opposition yesterday, but it would allow people to sue if they or their loved ones are injured or being killed after being barred from carrying weapons for self-defense on government property. The measure is the latest in a years-long series of pro-gun measures routinely approved by the Republican-controlled legislature.
Right now, Uber is testing an old-fashioned way of booking a cab for business in Arizona.
The ride-hailing company is using a toll-free phone number to book one of its cars. In Arizona, passengers can call 1-833-USE-UBER to reach an Uber contractor. That contractor will then book a ride on the app and give the caller a price quote.
Uber will then send driver details such as the expected arrival time and receipts via text message. Uber says the service is intended for people who may not own a smartphone and have access to its app. Coming up on Cronkite News at 5, ice hockey therapy.
We'll take you to the ice rink and show you a new program designed to help adults with disabilities.
And nearly half of all child poisoning cases can be blamed on parents or grandparents. We'll tell you why and how to prevent this after the break.
Ready to watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere, on nearly any device? It's easy with the free PBS Video app. Simply download the PBS Video app on your mobile or streaming device. Now you can watch the latest PBS episodes or catch up on the shows you missed. Discover new favorites from PBS and local content from your PBS station.
The weather around Phoenix is just beautiful today. Let's take a look at the weather around the valley.
Thank you for joining us for the special edition of Cronkite News. Here are the top stories that we're tracking today at noon. Some of the best players for their program.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves. You know, I don't go anywhere without my passport. And now, thanks to PBS Passport, you can travel with me and watch all 10 seasons of Rick Steves Europe and all my travel specials. This exclusive streaming service is just for our members. Not only can you see all my shows, but you can see thousands of hours of your favorite public television shows. Become a member today and get your passport.
More than half of children under age 5 poisoned by prescription pills ate them after an adult removed the child-resistant safety packaging. These medications include those to treat diabetes or cardiac conditions, which are hazardous to children even in small doses. That's the disturbing finding from a new study published Wednesday in the Journal of Pediatrics. It analyzed the reasons behind nearly 4,500 calls to 5 poison centers in Arizona, Florida, and Georgia in 2017. The study found this mostly happens as caregivers take their meds out of tough-to-open containers and put them in easier-to-reach places. That's why the CDC suggests keeping meds in original containers to save the National Poison Control Hotline in your phone.
When One Step Coyotes program began in 2016, it introduced the sport of ice hockey to adults with intellectual disabilities. Now, several years later, the bond between the program and the NHL club is stronger than ever. Cronkite News reporter Sean Salehi takes us to Peoria for the story.
For dozens of local adults with disabilities, AZ Ice Peoria serves as the gathering place for an activity that many didn't believe they could participate in: ice hockey. This is thanks to a program called One Step Coyotes, a part of the One Step Beyond organization, which teaches life skills to adults with intellectual disabilities. The program was founded by Jared Woosley in 2016 after he noticed that there wasn't any opportunities in Arizona for those with intellectual disabilities to play the sport he loves.
Go, my Borak!
Hockey was just one of those things that we noticed was missing. There wasn't really a place in Arizona where you could play. There wasn't really a spot for them. So we made our own.
The program has grown in size each year, and Woosley is happy to see that his favorite sport is bringing people from across the valley together.
Our program, we service over 600 individuals in the valley, so we have 4 locations, and it's a pretty large organization. So just seeing that hockey's bringing together a lot of people that normally wouldn't have a chance to spend their days together has really created long-lasting friendships.
One member who loves the camaraderie of the team is third-year player Michael Watts, who serves as an alternate captain for the squad.
It just builds a family, I think. It builds a family in everybody else. And sometimes you'll start off not as a family, but then you'll work your problems way through it on the ice, off the ice, and just become a family, I guess.
The One Step Coyotes program wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for their strong relationship with the Arizona Coyotes, who view the program as a unique way to help grow the sport of hockey here in the Valley.
It's an avenue to grow the game of hockey through something that you would, for lack of a better term, an unorthodox method. When people start thinking of growing the game, they don't normally think of kids with special needs, sled hockey, that sort of stuff. They think kindergartners, 5-year-olds, how do we get them to play? And it's like, no, you can start at any age, you can start at any level. This is proof that hockey is for everybody.
And the second that anyone found out that we were doing this, of course, everyone came to support. When it came to gear, helping the guys with ice time, sticks, tickets to the game, all that stuff. And the Coyotes have been there to support us in every step of the way. It's been a really, really amazing partnership.
The Coyotes' continued support of the One Step organization allows the program to continue its mission to show that hockey is truly for everyone. In Peoria, Sean Salehi, Cronkite News.
Good goal!
The One Step organization has recently started a hockey program in San Jose and hopes to expand to other cities across the country in the coming months.
Here in Arizona, we have a lot more to celebrate today than just Valentine's Day.
That's right. Our wonderful state is turning 101 today.
After the break, we'll share 5 fun facts with you that you might not know about our state.
And you're going to love the warmer weekend ahead. Plus, I'll have your Valentine's Day forecast when Cronkite News returns.
Every day I wake up, my first thought is, how can I serve this community?
The biggest hurdle was not taking PTSD personally.
Would you welcome, please, the amazing.
Everybody that watches this, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
While people across the country are out celebrating Valentine's Day today, Arizonans will be celebrating a different holiday, the state's 108th birthday. Here are 5 things you may not know. First, 27% of Arizona's land is tribal, the largest percentage in the U.S. Second, Arizona's nicknames include the Grand Canyon State, the Copper State, and the Valentine's Day State. Third, Arizona leads the nation in copper production, accounting for 68% of the country's copper. In fact, coming in fourth, the Capitol building in Phoenix contains enough copper to make 4,800,000 pennies. And finally, Arizona's diverse climate and geography can yield both the highest and the lowest temperatures in the country within the same day.
Today, we're asking, what are the best and worst gifts you've ever gotten for Valentine's Day? Ryan says, I asked for love and affection and, oh no, and I got dumped? Ouch. But Winda says her best gift was a silver heart pendant from her husband. She has no worst gift. Just go to our Cronkite News Facebook page to join the conversation. You know, true story, my parents' very first date was on Valentine's Day.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah, they tell me that story almost every time this year, and they'll go out for dinner here tonight. Just nothing too serious.
Well, is it good weather out for a date outside?
It's a little chilly, nothing too extreme or chilly though. Definitely grab a light jacket if you are going to be seated outside on your date tonight. Right now, we're looking at the current forecast in Phoenix. It is 67 degrees and partly cloudy. And for those of you celebrating Valentine's Day this evening, this is your evening planner. Let's take a look at around dinner time at 6 o'clock p.m. We're looking at about 69 degrees, and at 7 o'clock, 66 degrees. And of course, that temperature is going to drop as we move further into the evening, and we'll see about 58 degrees at the 10 o'clock hour. Moving on to your highs tomorrow for the valley, we're seeing mostly low 70s throughout the state. Or throughout the valley, excuse me. And then in Goodyear, we're seeing a high of 72 degrees, Glendale 72, Phoenix 72, and in Mesa 70. As for your state lows tomorrow, up north, pretty chilly with 25 degrees in Flagstaff, 31 in Prescott, 47 in Phoenix, and 40 in Tucson. Nothing too chilly here. And for your 8-day forecast, let's take a look at this weekend. Pretty nice weather this weekend with a high of 72 degrees on Saturday and 74 on Sunday. But let's take a look at the temperatures for the rest of the week. Check out these temps, mostly high in mid-70s throughout the entire week. That's great. Things are definitely starting to heat up for us here in the Valley. For the Cronkite News Weather Center, I'm Annabella Punzi. Have a great weekend.
A local high school golfing star will be teeing off for ASU.
And we'll tell you what the future Sun Devil will bring to the team after the break.
With wildfires, a scarcity of water, and other environmental issues facing the Earth today, it's critical to stay up to date with local impacts of a changing climate. That's why we created Elemental, covering sustainability, a multimedia collaboration between public television and radio stations. From climate change to water conservation to renewable energy and much more, Elemental covers the latest in sustainability news. Find our stories on our website, elementalreports.com.
You'll find there's never a dull moment in this house.
Welcome to Downton.
This house has no secrets.
Downton is catching up with the times we live in.
This calls for a toast.
Makes you want to jig about, though, doesn't it?
Heavens, we are quite a party.
Oh, goody goody.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
Finally tonight, ASU's golf program is known for being successful, and one future Sun Devil believes she can meet the program's high standards. I talked to Xavier Prep's Ashley Meny on making the transition to Tempe. The drive to win begins with a swing. And Xavier College Preparatory senior Ashley Meny has success in spades.
I just like winning, so that's about it.
The star Xavier Gator committed to the ASU women's golf program back in 2018. While playing as a Sun Devil will certainly be harder than high school, Meny doesn't sound fazed by the transition.
I don't think other than that it's going to be any different from what I usually do on a daily basis. I go practice, I get instruction, from my coaches and stuff. and I play golf in tournaments and stuff.
It's easy for many to speak casually about golf when she is a 4-time Junior Golf Association of Arizona Girls Player of the Year and won 8 out of 16 JGAA events during 2019.
She has great composure. Her mood does not change on the golf course, whether she hits a bad shot or a good shot, and sometimes you never know how she's doing till you actually talk to her.
Just like it's always a different challenge when you play golf, because you're always like, you could hit a good shot and it'll end up bad. It's always different, and you kind of just gotta like go in with like a constant mindset of, I can do this.
With 3 state titles at Xavier plus a 4.0 GPA since her sophomore year, there's little reason to doubt Many's championship potential in Tempe. Many will also be among several Xavier alumni to play for ASU women's golf, including the current head coach, Missy Farquet.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon.
On the next Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists Roundtable. A former Republican governor comes out in support of a move to ban dark money in politics. That story and more on the next Journalists Roundtable.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.arizonapbs.org.